of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your flexibility. We're starting a couple minutes late. So I can move to move her up in the agenda. Do I have to do a vote for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move up in the agenda the physical fitness data presented by Sarah Hale and Carly Fortin. I'll second the motion. All in favor? Aye.
We can move right into that.
Great. All right, good evening. Just a quick introduction. I'm Sarah Hale. It's nice to meet both of you. Officially, I am the supervisor of PE and health for the district. And I am honored to present some Connecticut Fitness physical assessment data for you. These are going to be the results from last year, so the 24-25 school year, just to give you an idea of where they're coming from. The Connecticut Physical Fitness Assessment is Connecticut's annual assessment of public schools students' physical well-being. Students in grade 4, 6, and 8 are assessed annually, and then at the high school, students need to be reported once through their 9 through 12 years of the high school. The goals of the assessment program are to inform schools, districts, and the public about programs focusing on fitness and physical activity in our schools and evaluate their success. During the CPFA, the Connecticut Physical Fitness Assessment, they're evaluated using age and gender appropriate standards and 4 components of fitness. Those components are aerobic endurance, which we use the PACER test for, flexibility, which is a sit and reach test, upper body strength and endurance, which is the push-up test, everyone's favorite, abdominal muscle strength and endurance, which is curl-ups. And those are the 4 assessments that we use to measure those components. The CPFA data counts towards the individual school's school performance index. So those are the results of each school's CPFA go to those assessments under indicator 11, which is the physical and health and wellness component of that SPI. Schools will get credit for participation, so the number of students that participate in all 4 assessments, and the proficiency, so the percentage of students that pass all 4 components of that physical fitness assessment. Some of our district highlights that we had last year, we had an increased percentage of students passing the curl-up test district-wide, specifically in grades 4 and 8. We also had an increased percentage of the students passing the push-up test district-wide, also specifically in grades 4 and 8. Both high schools and Southside School had an increase in the number of students passing all 4 components. And when I was looking at the data, one of the big things that stuck out and why I wrote down the push-up test, because that is historically the component that we struggle with. So the fact that we were able to get 2 grades, increase their student percentage of them passing, is a good testament to the teachers and the work that is being done. What I did here is I just gave you a snippet of when you go on EdSite, what we see as a district. So up here is the district-wide numbers. We had as a whole, as a district, we had 95.8% participation. The goal is always to get 100% per school. We want at least 90% of participation to count towards the school accountability or the school performance index. So that we have to get the most points, you have to have 90%, but of course we always aim for 100 to give us some flexibility with that. 50.6% of all students reaching all 4 components of exceeding or reaching the standard. For EdSite, you could do it if you see the bars up top. You could do it by school also. So I just did the district-wide snapshot, but there is a way to look per school and per grade to kind of get an idea of where the students are. All 4 components are in the middle in that column, and then on the right-hand side, it's per test. So you could see each test individual and how the students did. The next graph is just a representation of how our elementary school students did. In elementary school, they get tested in fourth grade. So at Hubble, we had 55.6% of students passing all four components of the physical fitness test. Ivy had 27%, Mountain View had 27.9, Southside at 48, which I highlighted in our district highlights because that is an increase from last year. And then Stafford at 30.9. The next one is the middle schools and the K-8s. Chip-ins with 59.4, NEMS with 66.8, and this is as a school, it's not divided by grade. Green Hills is 31.3, and West Bristol at 37.1. Green Hills and West Bristol is a little different because we have an elementary component at Green Hills and in middle school, so they do 4th, 6th, and 8th grade. It gets reported, but that is as a whole. So that's Green Hills as a whole.
And generally, we
Yeah,
see
yes,
that
sir.
our middle school and our high school students have a stronger performance on the physical fitness assessment. So that's not surprising to see.
I was
those
just gonna say, like, does that explain that
Yeah.
discrepancy between like NEMS and Greenhouse?
Our high schools did phenomenal this year or last year. Bristol Central at 68.9 and Bristol Eastern at 78.6. Again, in my little introduction of the CPFA in high school, they do have some flexibility on who they report and when they report them. So each student in grade 9 through 12 has to be reported once. So you do have that flexibility of when you report them and who you choose. Right now, we're using the still using the sophomore number of students to get that participation rate. So even though the students could be reported once anywhere between 9th through 12th grade, we do use 10th grade students as that participation rate percentage.
And I think right now, just for historical context, in the past, we've been requiring 2 credits of physical education. And so students, as Sarah just mentioned, could take the assessment anytime between grades 9 through 12. I think one of the things that we need to have an eye on moving forward with the reduction of credits to the 1 required. That was required by the state, requires 1 credit of PE, given some of the reductions that we had to consider last year. We had to scale back to just what the state required. But we also need to be paying attention to our performance here. As Sarah pointed out, our physical fitness rates are pretty high and they've been climbing for our high school. And so Sarah and I are gonna look together on what the impact will be as we see that students now don't have 4 years really to meet that requirement. They only have 2 in their freshman or sophomore year. And so it might be something that we want to consider as we're heading into some decisions in the future about what we might be asking for.
When I was preparing for this presentation, I asked our teachers what they thought were some of the things that worked well. When we have a chance to meet as a department, we talk about the physical fitness test a lot because that's the thing, the main part of our assessment that we concentrate on. So some of the things that the teachers pointed out and that we developed as a department, students set individual result goals, the CPF component centered warm-up. So in our classes, the warm-up is centered on fitness and those components to help boost percentage of students passing. Allowing students to test individually or small groups. We've noticed that has helped a lot, just they have that individuality and they're not in front of everybody and doing the push-ups and nobody likes that. So that has really made a difference just with comfort wise and making sure students were aware and prepared the day each assessment would be given. So instead of just walking in and saying, hey, today's the push-up I'm picking on the push-ups tonight.
I don't know, pacer is like.
Oh,
not the type
The nurses
person
don't
who
like to
likes
pay so much, but that we do pretty well on that one, but so that just giving them an idea of when that assessment's coming.
Yeah.
Seemed to have helped also.
My niece is in 4th grade at Mountain View and she was practicing push-ups for like ever. So.
Yes.
I was like, okay.
Good.
He's had it.
Tell her to spread the word. And then some of the things that we're gonna focus on looking at this data and some of the things that we that we kind of saw and noticed in our data dive is regularly reviewing class assessment results to identify trends, strengths, and areas for improvement, and using this data to inform and adapt instructional strategies. Do students in a particular class need more work on, aerobic capacity, things like that. So making sure we tailor our lessons more to the component that they are weakest in. Develop tailored fitness plans for students, so making goals with them, allowing them to see how they're doing, and then striving to pass it or to improve. Incorporate the use of guided discovery teaching techniques, so a lot of stations and in choice. Students getting to choose what station they want to go to and what component do they think that they need the most work on. Incorporating additional activities that align with the CPFA components. Collaborate with families to promote your niece, I love it, physical activity outside of school. And then supporting teachers through collaborations, observation, and discussion on administering the assessment. That's a new thing that we added because we do have a few new teachers in those that teach those grade levels that we report to the state on. So just making sure that they know how to administer it, and we talk and we have a chance to watch each other and collaborate and make sure that we're all kind of administering it the same way.
I think that's probably most notable when you look at maybe some of the discrepancies at the elementary level. We see the highest performance are in schools where the teachers have had the greatest seniority. So they've had that experience, they have built up those skills. Sarah's done with her presentation, but I'd like to take this opportunity as a chance to share some of the other great work that I've seen the PE department do. I had the opportunity to observe one of their after-school meetings. And it was great to see them sharing practice that was district-wide focus on discourse, how students are talking with one another, but building that into the PE class as well. So we had Sarah had set up the opportunity for teachers to model practice for one another. They engaged in that practice, picking up some of the opportunities. It was a Mountain View teacher actually who was sharing her practice with the other PE teachers across the district, and that I think is an invaluable asset to really making sure that we can see some consistent results. The other area of focus for the PE department over the past couple of years, really intensely last year and then more in this upcoming year, is looking at adaptive PE. Coming from Hubble, we have our PE classes there, and we've dedicated specific sections of physical education for students that might have been in a self-contained program in the past. And we're looking at different ways that we could better provide the adaptations for students to participate in their PE experience on a regular.
I do this to the chair.
Yes.
No, I just want to add to that being at Hubble, just noticing that PE is like really not separate from everybody else. I mean, it's integrated in everything we do. Kindergartners were doing push-ups, and there were always like little challenges and shout outs in the hallway and little competitions going on and stuff. So it was part of really their everyday, all day. And I'm sure that the buildings that maybe have most success are for those reasons, that they're just, it's all the time.
I'm really glad you said that too, because I didn't mean to say, even though we report in fourth grade, we really start exposing the students to the physical fitness components. Like you said, the kindergartners are doing it, but we do also have practice tests and stuff, just so when they're coming in, it's fourth grade, they're not like, what is this? So it's just like this. So I thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't mean to say that.
Great, thank you very much.
Can I ask a question about what the zone percentage
Sure.
was? Like, I saw that, but I wasn't sure if that was part of the performance indicator or if you.
Sure. So what they do is they look at age, and then the State Department of Education decides which is a healthy zone and not. So I put on my glasses, hold on. Just like to give you an idea, boys ages 8, for the sit and reach, all of boys in 4th, 6th, and 8th grade need to get to 8 inches. So they just have a number, and this chart is up in every gymnasium and every health room. So the students are aware of what is required to pass. And then we kind of go off of these. There's fitness zones, and then there's exceeding the fitness zone.
So it's a standard by every grade level, and gender.
Yeah.
So that it's not, it advances and increases as students get older and stronger, more physically developed.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you for allowing me to go first. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have need to make a motion to approve the November 19th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Any discussion?
Commissioner Button is,
Oh, she is.
Mhm.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, so if no discussion, then all in favor to approve the meeting minutes, November 19th, 2025?
Aye.
Jill?
I,
don't have a
oh, can you
microphone.
guys hear me okay?
I don't think anyone wanted a microphone.
Commissioner Fitzsimons?
Can you hear me?
She's driving, so maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so they are approved. Is there any public comment? No public comment? Okay, next on the agenda, we have the approval of the 2026 meeting dates. So I have a copy here. We did change the dates, the time to 7 p.m. so we could connect with the school and family partnerships, having that earlier, so then we can consolidate. Jill's approved the meeting minutes.
I'll second the motion to approve or second the approval.
Okay, so I made a motion to approve your second thing. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the 2026 meeting dates for student achievement? Aye.
Aye.
They are approved. She was talking, she said, but we can't hear her, so.
Says she's muted.
Can you guys hear me now?
She unmuted herself. I
Can you
still
hear
don't
me?
her, though.
Can you hear me? I
Yes,
can hear Jill. Can
Next on the agenda, we have.
you hear me?
the,
I can hear you,
decision
Melanie.
Or
And I hear you,
presentation.
Jill,
by
but they don't
Laura
hear either
Lanza
one of
for
us.
the AP
Okay.
biology curriculum revision.
Not just you.
You?
Is it Lanza or Lanza?
It's Lanza, but you can
You think I
fancy
said
and say
Lanza
Lanza. It's okay.
And I said Lanza, I'm like, that's the okay.
All right, so first we have AP biology. I will also present ECE biology, and they are connected to each other, so you'll see a little bit of overlap there. So the AP biology course, this course uses the Campbell Biology in Focus 4th edition. It's the newest edition of that biology textbook that's been purchased for them. The prerequisites have been kept the same as the 2021 curriculum revision. So basically that is just focusing on a strong math and biology background for students. The standards alignment, this follows the College Board AP Biology course and exam description, which they call the CED. They focus on 6 science practices and 4 big ideas. The science practices are overarching skills that students would take into other courses, other sciences, things like doing research and making hypotheses. And then the 4 big ideas are the content standards. This course builds off of students' prior biology course and has a large lab component that's required by the College Board. So you'll see the course description there. They cultivate their understanding of biology through inquiry-based investigations as they explore the following topics: evolution, cellular processes, energy and communication, genetic information, transfer, ecology, and interactions. The course requires 25% of the time is spent in hands-on laboratory work with an emphasis on inquiry-based investigations. Students are actually designing their own labs to test their own hypotheses in this course. And then students are required to take the advanced placement exam in May. So the goals of this revision, you might see some trends as I present curriculum. This was another curricula that was basically just the College Board CED uploaded onto our site. So now we've really internalized and the teachers taken ownership over what the College Board has published and aligned them to our core resource of that textbook as well. We've really taken the time to outline the universal design for learning for all students to be able to access the course and differentiate our learning targets for our multilingual learners. And this time, these 2 days of curriculum revision allowed the collaboration amongst the ECE biology teacher and the AP biology teacher to ensure as much of a similar experience across both high schools as possible. So to get into what the course entails, the teacher did tailor this to what she's seen in her experience that the students need and the pacing that she's able to follow. So we all know that we want students to do well in the AP exam. And so what she has found is for pacing wise, the ecology unit, which is considered the 8th unit by the College Board, is very accessible to students to learn a little bit on their own ahead of time. So she considers that the pre-work where students do some of that learning ahead of time in the summer, and then they follow up in class with 2 to 4 class periods with some laboratory experiences. But over the summer, they have access to Google Slides, guided notes, AP Classroom. Everything's on Google Classroom for them before they leave for the summer. There's daily videos, topic questions that they can answer back and forth with each other in Google Classroom over the summer. And then the laboratory experience is focused on 3 different pasta ecosystems and comparing their relative biodiversity using the Simpsons Diversity Index. Don't ask me more than that. That's just what she reported. And then the other area that she felt like students really needed to bolster before diving into the AP curriculum is the experimental design and data analysis piece. Since students are designing their own labs to test their own hypotheses, this unit 0 is added in to teach students how to think and work like scientists. They learn how to ask testable questions, design valid experiments, represent their data clearly, and use the right statistical tools to evaluate their evidence. So after that little bit of pre-work, the students dive right into the AP curriculum. So unit 1 is chemistry for life. The takeaway for students there is that all life is carbon-based and the structure of key molecules is directly linked to their function. There's a lot of molecular work in this, even though it's a biology curriculum. That's why the math foundation is important. They do a lot with moles and calculating the different molecules and atoms in our cell system. Unit 2 is when they dive into that cell structure and function. The takeaway there is that cells are highly organized, self-regulating units that provide the environment necessary for all life processes to occur. Unit 3 is cellular energetics, looking at the energy in cells so that a constant energy supply managed efficiently by enzymes is necessary for all biological functions. Unit 4 is cell communication and cell cycle, looking at how cells are constantly communicating and regulating their growth to maintain a stable functional system. Unit 5 is about heredity. This is actually something that is pervasive throughout our curriculum. I was just in a 7th grade class the other day and they were looking at genotypes and phenotypes. So a lot of this does cycle and just build in complexity up until this course. So the takeaway here is about meiosis and genetic inheritance are the core processes that ensure the diversity and survival of a species. In Unit 6, they look at gene expression and regulation, that an organism's genotype is physically expressed as its phenotype through the regulated process of making proteins. Unit 7 is natural selection, looking at evolution being the change in the genetic makeup of a population over time, which is driven by natural selection. So those are the units. I asked the teacher to give some feedback on some of the changes that were made and just reflect on the process overall of the 2 days writing curriculum, and this is what she had to say. So she wanted to make sure to keep in the Why Are Cells Small lab because students have historically really enjoyed that. They simulate cells of different sizes with agar cubes that are stained blue with an acid-base indicator, and they see firsthand how when they're soaked in vinegar, the smaller cubes change color much faster than the large ones because of their surface area to volume ratio. They also enjoy the biotech labs that include DNA extraction, amplification, and genotyping via gel electrophoresis, as well as bacterial transformation, where they make glowing bacteria. And they use algae and pH indicator to observe relative rates of photosynthesis and cellular respiration and look at the optimum hatching salinity of brine shrimp. Everything's inquiry-based and designed by the students. She also said that she really feels this is an outstanding introduction to college level life natural sciences because it provides a stronger content-based foundation. So like I was saying, it's really a culmination of a lot of different things students have explored in science over the years. And there's a lot of opportunities for students to practice the analytical and reasoning skills of being a scientist. So they have that statistical analysis in there to determine actual significance, not just calculate and graph averages. They look at well-controlled experiments, how to depict, model, and describe their data, interpret and draw conclusions, and really look at their experimental results while also improving their foundational knowledge. So it's a really good critical reasoning skills type of class as well as learning a lot of different new material. And lastly, she talked about how last year she piloted a creative documentary project about an important biologist or biology-related experiment breakthrough. And she was able to now formalize that in the curriculum because it was really successful with her students. The students created engaging, informative podcast videos, illustrated books, really took on however they wanted to show that they've made meaning of this and share with each other. And it was a wide array of topics. So the teacher I feel like this is like some sort of award. The teacher I've been talking about is Zoe Adele at Bristol Eastern High School. So as I said, the previous curriculum was approved in 2021. It was just the link to the College Board course and exam description. That was updated to take effect this fall, so it was perfect timing to look at the curriculum, and Zoe was able to redesign it with all that in mind. So I thank her a lot for that work. And that's it. If you take any questions.
So you had mentioned that it overlaps a little bit with the ECE.
Mm-hmm.
And so the AP curriculum to me looked like more extensive and complex. So I guess my question is, if you can get the ECE like college credit for UConn, like what's the difference of this? Like this seems much more complex to me and more work. So I was just wondering, and the prereqs seem the same. So I was just like wondering.
I think they both just have a little bit different of a twist. I think BE definitely focuses a lot on the labs because of that 25% lab requirement with the AP. There's also just a little bit different content in the AP than the ECE. So we're definitely bound by what AP requires students to have for the AP exam, and then also what would align to be in a UConn course. So the UConn actually, we'll get into that, but they put out their own syllabus that we have to follow. And so they talk a lot about what experiments can all students explore across both high schools versus what ones do we have to do that are different, where does the content overlap. So there is a little bit of that, but there's, I think, a slightly different focus in each course, which makes them unique.
And so with the AP, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think part of the question that you're asking too is why are we choosing one or the other or offering one or the other? It's because for an ECE course, specifically at UConn sets the standard by which our teachers need to meet. And so I
wrote it all down. I had a feeling that would come up.
I'm sure Laura's going to share what that specific requirement is. But as we're looking at both of our schools and the offerings that we have, oftentimes they'll ask that individuals who are teaching the course have a master's in that content area. Most educators have masters in education, and so we're limited in being able to provide the course based on what the teacher's educational background is. And so I'm sure Laura's going to get to that in ECE, but that's why you'll see we want to make sure that our students have a college credit bearing opportunity in both of our schools, but UConn would set the standard for what we can have our teachers teach.
Mhm.
And the AP, if they pass that exam, they could use that college credit in different colleges as opposed to maybe UConn. I mean,
Yeah, you would get the UConn
transfer.
transcript and have to transfer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there's pros and cons to both models. And a lot of times it depends on what the teacher's background is and what they're able to teach, but also just student interest. We found that sometimes in in one high school versus the other, students are more interested in AP or ECE. So we also try to get that feedback from students, and design our curriculum on that too.
I just have another question. It kind of goes with both of the curriculums. So with the universal design, there are so many great ideas for like engagement and for student choice to, show their learning. But I guess my question is, are there also templates or things started a little bit for teachers? Like, hey, you can have a kid make this comic, and here's a rubric, or is any of that like in the works or within the curriculum?
Yep, so that will be during our implementation year next year.
Okay.
So I'll meet with the teachers, we'll reflect on the curriculum, what's going well, are these suggestions for UDL and help really helping your students? Have you come up with anything that you'd want to share? And then we can actually link those core assured learning experiences right in the curriculum document.
That's great. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Any other question? Oh, so that's me.
Yeah,
So-
so can it go to the full board?
Okay, so you need a motion to approve moving the AP biology curriculum revision to the full board.
I'll make a motion to move it forward to the full board.
I will second that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I,
I heard her here.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, yay, yes.
I don't know why it's coming out of here.
Okay, so that is approved
Afraid
to
to
move to the
touch.
full board. So next on the agenda, we also have Laura Lanza presenting the EC biology curriculum revision.
Okay. So to get at your question from earlier, I'll address this first. So to teach ECE biology through UConn, a teacher has to have a master's in biology or related science, 3 years teaching experience of high school biology, and all of their undergraduate and graduate degrees need to be science bachelor's or science master's. They can't have a bachelor's of art or or master in art. They also have to interview with the biology coordinator at UConn. And their transcripts have to show a deep breadth and depth of science courses and lab courses with a GPA of a 3.0 in all graduate and undergraduate sciences. So it's a lot of things to check off the list.
Yes.
So ECE biology, we kept the same prerequisites as the AP course. Those were the same as the 2021 revision as well, with having a strong math and biology background. Because UConn really only provides us the scope and sequence, it's literally like a day by day, what chapters and what topics students should be covering. There's no overarching big standards. The teachers decided that they would use the AP standards for the ECE course to align to as well, because it's a very good structure and it helps to keep things aligned to both across both high schools. So this teacher was allowed to make sense of the UConn sample syllabus, again, in relationship to the same textbook that the AP course is using. Look at that universal design for learning, the KELP standards, collaborate with the other teacher. And then this course, it does acquaint students with scientific thought, observation, and experimentation, and formal hypothesis testing. But I think there's a little bit more focus on the content here with the molecular and cell biology, the animal anatomy and physiology. They do dissect preserved animals in this course, and in the AP course, that's not as much of the focus. So in unit 1, the takeaway here with cell biology and biochemistry is that life is an ordered system where physical structure, chemical laws, and molecular communication drive all outcomes. So they're really looking at the hierarchy here looking at the molecule and its structure and how that all builds up to the chemistry of life. In Unit 2, they're looking at genetics and molecular biology. So you'll see a lot of the same vocabulary terms here as in the other curriculum. Yeah. The takeaway here is that cellular efficiency relies on precise internal organization, strict control over material exchange, and continuous self-regulation to maintain stability. So looking at the cells, the macromolecular structure, the micromolecular structure, the membranes, and how all of that little internal organization really makes a difference in the body. Unit 3, animal physiology and homeostasis. Takeaway here is that energy is the currency of life, and its flow from the organism to the entire globe is the key constraint on biological and ecological structures. So a lot here with energy, thermodynamics, how energy in the body is transferred, and how to maintain a healthy and stable population based on that. And then Unit 4 is evolution. The takeaway here, evolution is a continuous process driven by selection, acting on genetic variation, providing a scientific framework for understanding the unity and diversity of life. So a similar ending unit with evolution here. So 4 big units instead of 7 smaller units. In the previous curriculum, the teacher highlights and reflection here were about how this really does align to the UConn courses with rigor, pacing, assessment, all intentionally aligned with university standards. That really benefits students academically, and it signals to colleges that the work they've done is authentic and meaningful. And she also highlighted that there's a real sense of pride when students complete this course, that they really feel like they've accomplished something in earning real college credit. She said that developing and writing curriculum for that course was a rewarding professional experience. It required her to balance deep academic content with accessible instructional strategies, which really is the goal when we're taking these college courses and moving them down into our high schools. She also said that the college level content that students get to engage with, including molecular and cellular biology, genetics, and organismal biology, are all aligned with UConn Principles of Biology 1. And the lab component, which includes the dissection, really brings the content to life and mirrors what students would experience on a university campus. She talked about bridging the gap between abstract concepts and real world context. So using investigative case studies and problem-based learning activities. Those have been incorporated a little bit more than in the previous curriculum. Those methods compel students to move beyond surface level recall and engage in deeper conceptual exploration. She's really taken to more technology use as well. So we have something called PhET labs, Gizmos labs, and Nearpods. So if there's ever a time where we can't get our hands on the actual physical materials needed for a lab, the PhET labs and Gizmos are a great alternative to that. And then she said that after this course, she feels students are really significantly better prepared for any advanced college biology or really any university level research that they might be doing because of that exposure to experimental design and data interpretation. And she also feels like there's a really strong connection to allied health pathways with this course as well, because of the focus on the dissection of animals and the organisms there. So this teacher was Sandra Robert at Bristol Central High School. Same comments here. They had the curriculum done at the same time in 2021, and it was a link of to the UConn syllabus. And getting to your question of the implementation, there was also an implementation guide that was almost like a day-to-day for the teacher. So that will be updated next year during our implementation phase. So that's it. Take any questions?
One thing, just more of a comment. One thing I noticed in both of the curriculums were the long list of like potential misconceptions. And I just think as a teacher, former teacher, I would appreciate that so much because sometimes you don't realize what the misconceptions are going to be until you're in it. And just to have that already like, okay, this might happen. What might I have like prepared? So I just appreciated that.
Yeah, that definitely takes years to develop, right? So then if you're coming in new, having that already for you would be great.
I don't have any other questions. So they were sort of similar with the other. So, need a motion to recommend the ECE biology curriculum revision to the full board.
I'll make the motion to refer to the full board.
I have a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yay! I'm just gonna give her a little voice. Thank you. Okay, motion approved. That's the last agenda item, so I will move to adjourn this meeting. Okay. I think so.
I'll second the
Okay,
adjournment.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We should have our student achievement committee meeting at 5 o'clock.